tell me about the model then, because I've spoken to quite a few CEOs over the last months. I don't have answers for them, by the way. They keep asking for answers, but I don't think anyone has got the answers. But their problem is that they're okay. They've got Zoom and they've got Teams, and the company hasn't fallen over and died, especially if they're kind of in the services industry, not manufacturing. But their problem is that it's difficult to now get a handle on who's doing what, who's motivated, that kind of middle management layer that are so important for networking and making sure that things happen, and translations from the board to the exco get all the way down to the rest of the organization. So they're struggling to get a handle on how to interface those kind of water cooler moments where you've got those conversations which are the kind of the DNA of an organization. And they're also struggling to motivate people. They're struggling to work out how people stay behind their brand and want to work and don't get lost in all of the 1,001 things that you might go off and get distracted by when you're working from home. How do you manage your workforce? Because you're distributed right from the start by keeping them motivated and know who's doing what and who to go and really look after.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. The first one is we trust our team, right? Like you said, I'm not going to check if they're doing their work. That's really not something I can do. We trust them on executing. And I think one of the things a lot of companies need to change is to be more output driven, not hours driven, right? What are the goals of the quarter? What are the KPIs of the quarter? Are we executing on that? What are the failure points on executing on those numbers and on those KPIs, right? And that is the way to measure an organization, to me, regardless of whether you're distributed or not. So if you embrace that mindset, right? If you start looking at things from an output perspective, then you don't need to know if John worked from 9 to 5 or 9 to 8. You need to see what did John ship and how much did that contribute to getting to the KPIs of the organization, right? So my answer to that is, if you hire people to count their hours, you're probably hiring wrong, or at least in like the white collar workforce, for sure you're hiring wrong, right? You're hiring smart people that can do the job, that can be efficient, and that get to the output that you've decided and the goals that you've decided as an organization to get. And it might sound fancy, but at the same time, we're very cutthroat, right? Like, you don't contribute to the KPIs, you don't have the right output. Well, you won't be at deal anymore, right? So adopting the mindset of we trust you to do your work, and we measure everything so that everything you do ties back into a KPI of the company, and the mindset of, hey, because we trust you, we expect you to deliver. And if you don't deliver, then deals maybe not the right place for you, has worked really well for us. And I'm not, I wish I could spend more time with my team, and we're working on doing different things like company retreats and smaller retreats within departments of the organization. And we have our all hands every week and our product meeting every other week. So we're definitely doing our best. And there's a lot of things we need to learn from like a culture perspective and how to make things better. But for sure, trust is the main factor that I would highly recommend most organizations to shift from. And I know middle management has a hard time with that. So there needs to be some transformation on that front for sure.
How are you trying to make people feel part of the family? I suppose going back to where we started, I don't want to put answers out there, but I suppose purpose is helpful because it gives you something to bind around. It must be a lot more interesting working for a company that's purposeful and isn't just chasing revenue targets and margin targets and sales targets.
Yeah, it's exciting to chase revenue targets when you're going fast. You'd be surprised. People are quite driven by that as well. But purpose is important for sure. Kindness to the people, right? Caring for the people, be as much there for them as you can is important. Realizing that giving people the ability to work from wherever they want is a huge net positive for a lot of people. So some people it's not, but for a lot of people it's a huge net positive, and it's an advantage, right? It's a recruiting advantage, that's for sure. So understand that a lot of people appreciate that, right? It doesn't only play against you. And business, family, I think there's a fine line there, but I think a lot of people are excited about the business and the mission that it's solving, and keep on talking about your mission, keep on talking about why you exist as a company beyond the revenue targets. And with the revenue targets is how we've done things, and it works for us, right? The people, but we do hire. Our recruiting flow is very special in a way that we hire people that are very driven, and that want to be working from home and therefore want to be independent on that front and value the balance you get from working from home, right? Rather than staying in the office. Like, sometimes at a fast-growing startup, you're going to work really hard, but rather than working really hard at an office in the middle of nowhere, maybe you're working hard from home and then you get to go to bed or be with your kids after. And just generally, just the flexibility of being able to take your daughter in the morning to the pediatrist. You need to, I don't know if pediatrist is the right word, but to the right place for a kid's doctor when you need to is something that's super valuable. So what I'm trying to say here is, culture comes from the leaders of the organization and how you see the business, and it ripples down into the people you hire and how the company reacts to that and how you behave with it. So it's a much deeply rooted question to the top layer and how you trickle it down into the rest of the company.
Would you say, let's have a bit of fun with this one, shall we? You're obviously a very hierarchical company. All decisions go through you at the top of the tree. There's nothing that happens out there without your particular say.
I'm getting better at that. Actually, I'm getting better at that. More and more decisions are taken without me, so you'd be surprised.
Are you finding that hard though? Because obviously, as a founder, when it's a small team, you can take all the decisions. Now it's 250 people across different time zones with different issues. You'd be working. There's not enough hours in the day. How are you trying to go and mold that model as you get bigger, so that you avoid the pitfalls of a lot of the incumbents with their hierarchies and committees? So I don't know. Are you trying some of the more quirky ones like holocracy? Something like you might get at Zappos, or is it quite traditional actually what you're doing?
So I think we're not traditional because we're very output driven. So we ship a lot, we build a lot, we push things a lot. We're very numbers and data driven. So on that front, I still have a pretty good understanding of what's going on in the business. I think we're lucky that we hired great people that we trust, and therefore I feel like weights are taking off my shoulder given how they're executing on that. From time to time, I look at something and say, what happened here, and go a little crazy. But I try to lower that down as much as I can as well. But no, overall, I think it's part of my job, right? The company grows, people grow, and I need to grow as a person and as a leader as well. And part of that is knowing when to let go of things and how to grow as a person and trust people to take over things that I used to be the person building most of the products, and now we have a head of product, and hell, is so much better than me, right? So I actually was a bottleneck, right? Removing myself from being a bottleneck in key decisions, in key workflows is my new job, right? And feeling comfortable and hiring the best people in the world to take that over is the second part of the job, right? So hire the best people in the world, let them do their work, remove yourself is quite literally my day-to-day job at the moment.